I just made my truck slower by installing an upgrade that should have made it faster.
60.
How does that work? Well, we'll get to the dragging numbers and the reasons in just a second, because it's actually kind of a silly reason and it's easy to correct sometime in the future. But first, we actually have to finish the job. See, we're re-gearing this 2018 Sierra from a 323 to a 373, an upgrade that should improve the acceleration. Now, this is a four-wheel drive truck, and yes, I did lower four-wheel drive truck, but what that means is I have to match the same gear ratio in the front and the rear. Last time we took care of the rebuild and re-gear of the 976 12-bolt, but we haven't touched the front end yet. So today, that's where we're gonna start. We're gonna re-gear the front differential, and then we're gonna find out why on earth is it slower. So technically we're not actually re-gearing the diff that's in the truck. Rather, we're swapping it with another one that already has the correct 373 ratio installed. I picked this one up from a junkyard to save a little bit of time, because that way the truck doesn't have to be down for the couple of days while we disassemble and re-gear the front diff. But it also saves us a little bit of money because we're buying one that already has all the parts that we need. Depending on what brand of parts I bought, a ring and pinion along with the master install kit that has all the bearings, races, shims, and seals would have been close to $600, where I paid just a little bit over $200 including shipping for the used front diff, and about another $200 for new case half seals, pinion seal, and axle seals. So not a huge cost savings in the long run, but later on when we go to install this diff in the truck, the time savings is really where that's going to come into play. Now, when I received this one in the mail, they actually didn't drain out the gear oil, and it kind of leaked out everywhere, and the diff was kind of greasy anyway. So I wanted to reseal it, but I also wanted to make sure things were in good shape on the inside, since I had no idea how many miles were actually on it. Luckily, all the bearings and races seemed to be in pretty good shape, so I was okay with just cleaning things up and putting it back together again with all new seals so it wouldn't leak. That's the one thing I'll never skip on, is seals, because I hate a leaky project. If I had to guess, I'd say there's probably less than 100,000 miles on these parts. And it might seem a little counterintuitive to be putting it back together with used bearings, but one thing to keep in mind is that the front diff isn't getting power all the time on a 4x4 truck like this. In fact, if you select two-wheel drive instead of auto 4x4, the front carrier isn't really spinning much of the time at all. And really the only time I'm ever going to use four-wheel drive is if it happens to snow, or maybe in the future when we add a supercharger, if I'll be doing some boosted launches at the dragster. But for now, four-wheel drive will rarely be used, so I'm perfectly comfortable running it like it is. Now, if this were a full-time all-wheel drive unit, on the other hand, I'd probably go ahead and just throw in some new bearings, since those do receive power and the parts are turning all the time. If you're contemplating a DIY job like this, I say go ahead and jump right in. It might look intimidating, but as long as you take your time, read some tutorials before you start, and have a good solid understanding of how the parts are supposed to work together, you'll be fine. For the most part, all you need are some simple hand tools, a bearing and seal driver, a few torque wrenches, and a little bit of patience. All right, we got a bit of a side project to take on right now. Back when we first got the shop here, I kind of had the idea that we'd use half the bays for custom and performance type work, and the other half would just be regular everyday mechanic stuff. But as we've gotten going with the shop and things like that over the last couple of years, seems like all we do is regular everyday repair work, and I just do my own goofing off stuff down here. But I do get emails from time to time from customers saying, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? And we had one that I just couldn't say no to. We'll probably try to take on a few more custom fun jobs. Maybe we'll specialize in GMC 800 trucks. I don't know, but they're my favorite body style, so I could not say no. This customer has this cool black, I forget what year, 03, 4, somewhere in there, extended cab. He wants some headers installed, so he's got some Cook's long tubes and a catted Y pipe. And part of the reason why we said yes is because I'd like to put some Cooks on my truck. I've never installed them. I know that Cooks are supposed to be really, really good fitting stuff. So I said, what the heck, let's install them. So I it's got to be a 5.3 truck. Haven't even looked yet, but he just has the stock manifolds and mid pipe. So we're going to be replacing it with this. Installing headers is like the perfect first upgrade for a car or truck. They bolt on easily. Of course, they're going to help improve horsepower, but they'll also build on the foundation for other upgrades that you can install in the future. Now, talking to the owner of this truck, right now it's pretty much stock, but someday he is going to do a cam and a few other internal engine upgrades to further increase the power, and he's probably going to do a 4L80 swap and some other stuff as well. Now, I love seeing these GMT 800 trucks still being driven and still being worked on. To this day, it's still my favorite body style of truck. And I think realistically what it comes down to is these were the brand new trucks when I was, a young kid in high school and wishing I could purchase one of my own. I remember going to the dealership and just kind of driving by and wishing that I could own one someday. All right, passenger side is in, and this is like a case of so close, but just barely missed the mark. Everything up here fits really good. The customer did provide the stage 8 locking header bolts, which that's nice because it'll stop the header bolts from backing out. Really, really good quality header, and it fits great except for that stupid O2 sensor. And they missed the mark because they could have easily put it right here. The stock sensor would have lined up, no need for an extension, no need to run the wire across the top in, like what I call the hot zone. And when you come down here, it fits and it kind of clears, but it's just dumb because they could have put it over there, problem solved. But passenger side is it. So, now to the driver's side. Front one is broken off. I already got the back one out. So as long as the four in the middle cooperate, we're in business. Excellent. I enjoy every now and then taking a break from the bigger builds and working on something that's more like a quick win, something that you can install in an afternoon or maybe a day or two. It'll improve the power, make the truck more fun to drive, but not be something that you're working on for 3 years. Now, with the twin turbo truck, for example, we are waiting on an intercooler, so I'm not just forgetting about it, but a header install like this is definitely fun. And one thing I'll always do is weld an exhaust system together in as big of chunks as possible. They usually make things small for shipping and packing and convenience, but I'd rather just TIG weld it together and eliminate the need for all those extra clamps. Plus, it makes a much nicer finished product. So we're back on the Sierra, but before we install the front diff and see if it's actually going to fit and work in the truck, we're going to install one upgrade that I've been wanting to do ever since I got this thing, and that's install a tonneau cover. I've been putting the roll-up retractable tonneau covers pretty much on everything that I own, and I love them. They're sleek, they're low profile, they keep most of the weather out, keep your stuff dry. And this is a Retrax Pro MX that we grabbed from RealTruck.com. RealTruck has pretty much any truck accessory that you could ever ask for, whether it's wheels and tires, steps, tonneau covers, interior accessories like floor liners or cargo management. We already installed the thick rubber floor mat from RealTruck in the back of the Sierra. But yeah, they have pretty much everything you want. And if you are thinking about purchasing a tonneau cover in the month of April, listen up, because they have some really, really good deals going on. It starts the 13th, which is next week, if you're watching this the day the video goes live, all the way to the end of the month. Really, really good savings. It depends on the type of tonneau cover, but some of them are like $300 off. So now's the time to use those tax savings to get yourself a tonneau cover. And once we get this one installed, then we're back to the gear change. So the biggest risk and unknown of this whole project is if this front diff will fit. Remember, this is from a 2008 to 13, not the 2014 to 18 truck like I have. Mine is a 2018, of course. Now, the reason why I bought the earlier diff is because I could not find a 14 to 18 front diff with 373 gears. Most of them were 323 like I have, or a 342. I did find one or two, but they were $900 or something like that. So anyway, we have a earlier model diff, and I bought it with the hunch that it will work. So far, there are a few little differences, like the end of the tube here is shaped just a little different on both sides, but the mounting points look to be in the exact same position, both here and here. The actuator is different. This is the 2013-ish actuator, has 4 pins in the square configuration. This one has 4 in a row, but I think and hope that it'll interchange. And the axle flanges look the same. So with fingers crossed, we will just swap this actuator over into our freshly resealed 373 diff, and it'll bolt right in. You've got the driver CV. There we go. Okay, and put that stand right under the, yep, and maybe screw it up a little bit. One more. Okay, I think that's, just don't cough on it. Looking good. Well, I mean, other than those minor things, the outer bearing housing-ish thing, actuator's different, but...
They just put more meat around is all it really looks like. Maybe they did something to keep dirt from getting in there, and that's the right way to fix seals?
Yeah, I mean, something like that would make sense. But at least in terms of bolting it in, it's falling right into place. And as long as these line up, it looks like they do, yeah. CV axles fit. Golden. Let's see if we have 4-wheel drive. Cool. Well, our regearing mission is successful, which I was a little bit nervous if the older front diff would actually work. It's good to know that you can put a 2008 to 2013 diff in a 14 to 18 truck just by swapping the actuator. So it's gone through, it won't leak, and we have functioning 4-wheel drive, and now both ends have the same matching ratio, which is awesome. So it is time to move on to our acceleration test. We have 509 miles on the rear ring and pinion, so I'm going to consider that to be fully broken in. I still have to do a oil change on it at some point, but as soon as we get a clear spot in traffic here, we'll do our test. definitely was not the result that I was anticipating, but I think I have a hunch. I know what's going on, but let me take a quick look at the video, go over some numbers, and see what's going on. Well, there you go. We somehow managed to make the truck slower by doing an upgrade that theoretically should make it quicker. And it took me a second, but I went back and I watched the clips, and now I realize why the truck is a little bit slower from 15 to 75 than it was before. There are two reasons. First, if you go back and watch the clips, with the stock 323 gears, it only used first, second, and third gear to get to 75 miles an hour, where with the 373s, it also uses fourth gear, which that adds a tiny bit of time, not a whole lot. In fact, that part's probably inconsequential, but the big one, I'll put the two clips in side by side. Watch the 1-2 gear shift with the stock gears. And then watch the 1-2 gear shift with the 373s. There is a huge delay. And if you watch the little G meter down in the bottom, it feels like it's like you're letting off the gas, waiting for a second, and then resuming acceleration. And that's where all of our time went. Now, what's going on there? It's something to do with tuning or calibration. I did reflash the computer after I put the gears in, but I'm pretty sure all that did, it's just a little handheld programmer, all that did was just correct the speedometer. I don't think it really adjusted the rev limit or torque limit or whatever's going on that 1-2 gear change, but it definitely is losing a bunch of time right there. So, one more thing to square it away. I probably will hire a helper or a tuner when it comes to this Gen 5 stuff. I feel really comfortable tuning the older Gen 3 LS stuff. I've tuned a bunch of these, but the Gen 5 trucks, I have never touched one, and it seems like there's a really big learning curve, so I'll get some help on that. I don't know if I'll do a custom tune now, or probably it would be smarter to wait until we do the cam and the headers and all that good stuff, and then just tune it all at once, because that little 1-2 gear change doesn't really bother me. It's not like every single day I'm blasting off. But anyway, yeah, we made the truck slower, but overall it does drive a lot better. It really should be a little bit quicker than it is right now. So just some calibration issues and we're good to go. So thank you guys for watching. Appreciate it. Big thank you to RealTruck, and don't forget, if you want a tonneau cover in the month of April, they have some really good savings going on. So I'll put the links below and the info on all that good stuff. We're going to do another exhaust on the Denali soon. We're also going to get a lot of exhaust coming up. We're going to be doing an exhaust on the twin turbo truck, which I'm really excited about because that's going to be like equal length and X pipe and has twin turbos and all that good fun thing. So come back soon, guys.